Good morning.
We are going to put out a little video, short video on the new moon, and we wanted to see about, kind of just introducing a couple concepts for people to feel into around what feels right for you, around engaging with the new moon energy this Tuesday, Wednesday, sort of evening time.
Right, because technically the new moon is at midnight on Wednesday
Morning.
morning. So for us, we'll probably be engaged with it Tuesday evening a little bit, maybe even at midnight, and then a little bit on Wednesday as we kind of close out whatever we end up doing in our space. So
And just to give a little bit of clarity about what that means for us, we have our existing temple space that we perform all of our rituals from. And our hope will be to kind of open the space and welcome the energy of the group in for the new moon ritual. And so while everyone is doing their own ritual, the idea is that we're all performing and practicing ritual and connection with the new moon together. We, in particular, find that around lunar holidays, around lunar ritual, there are lots of different points of view out there, and all of them are really valid. And so, as we're going to present to y'all our thoughts on the new moon, we really want to kind of make sure that everybody feels open to expressing and exploring the energy as it's coming up for you, because ultimately what's present and what's real for you in the moment of the ritual is more important than what we're imposing from without.
yeah, I was just gonna add that anything that we share, if it resonates, cool, use it. If it doesn't, that's totally fine. If you start engaging with it from that place and then feel into something a little different at the time that you're engaged in ritual, listen to that intuition.
So, with that all said, we tend to work with the new moon as a releasing energy, and there is a lot of reasoning as to why we practice that. All of 2021, what we performed the new moons in
2020.
all through 2020, when we were performing the new moon rituals, we were engaging very specifically with the releasing of toxicity, the releasing of kind of the goop, so to speak, of the world, our own existences and beings, and kind of just the larger, macrocosm of energy in the universe and cosmos around us. And we are largely going to be kind of keeping to that overall theme through 2021. And so that's kind of where our practice is coming from and based in. I don't know if you want to say anything in particular about last year's kind of experience of that.
I found it really beneficial to have a repeated ritual in which I could release. I know in some practices, a lot of the releasing happens for people on the full moon. And if that's totally what makes sense for you, that's great, like we've already stated. But the new moon, I really utilized the sense of it kind of emptying out, the light kind of draining from it and it being empty. And then, we talk a lot about once it's emptied, cleaning out the container
Mm.
of everything, of that space in which it was all being held. And so that was a really helpful visual for me. And then throughout the months, each new moon, I got to kind of revisit that and check it and make sure that, my energy and my engagement in ritual, but also in my life, was being checked and being cleared and being cleansed in a way that really was helpful across time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And thanks for, obviously presencing, some of the other ways of engaging with the moon. Yeah, that emptying quality for me is something that's really present. I tend to, the moon has been a really important relationship in my life since I was a kid. And so I do tend to try to like bring myself back to a childlike awareness of the things that I'm engaging with in ritual, right? This kind of imaginative play aspect that I think really can boost our engagement with our kind of commitment to a ritual process, which is kind of just this enlivened, enriched, sort of imaginative play. So as the moon is waning, I literally feel as if like the light is draining from it over 14 days. And then I feel like the light is filling it back up for 14 days. And so there's this, we were just talking with someone the other day about yin and yang and how that's really actually, for me, one of the more beautiful images that we can kind of imagine to consider the moon, where it's so perfectly full and yang and so perfectly empty and yin. And the process of moving toward yin and moving toward yang as this kind of beautiful expression of the moon going through her changes in the sky. And so for me, that's, kind of really where that emptying, and then I literally at this point now feel it as almost like at the new moon, I'm kind of pulling the stopper out and just kind of letting the last bits escape. Which kind of brings me to kind of the new piece that we've been working with, I guess probably only for the last month, kind of intensely, which is something that I'm going to really continue through 2021. In addition to this idea of releasing that toxic component, I'm also working on and meditating a lot on this idea of releasing contracts, and what that means for each of us is a unique exploration of self and the way we form relationship. And I feel like this is kind of here.
Yeah, when Matt first started working on releasing contracts, we were talking a lot about the contracts that we hold with other people. And that was really helpful because a lot of the most kind of complex and outdated contracts I was holding were with people who aren't even in my life anymore. And I became very present to the ways in which I was holding on to those behaviors and those ways of being that were linked to people that, I'm not connected to anymore. And so it's going to be, pretty, I want to say simple, but I feel like I should be careful about that to release those contracts. It's not going to be simple. But I feel like there's a process that we can go through to release ourselves from the stories that create the idea that there's a certain way in which we engage with anyone. Beyond that, as I continued to meditate on it, I realized I had a boatload of contracts with myself that were influenced by other people, but definitely, kind of a commitment to a way of being inside of myself that was the foundation of how I structured my formulation of self. And these are like old contracts that kind of got re-upped and like became a conglomerate of contracts that, at 37 years old, it's a lot of work to go through. So I'm using part of the energy to really examine those, and wherein new moon folks often do some manifesting and some intention setting, I think it's where there's a nice little tie-in to that process, whether it be the draining, whether it be the releasing of contracts. You have to do those things to prepare a container to be filled with anything.
Yep.
And so I still do feel those energies tied in together. Whether you're focused more on one side of it than the other, I think is up to you, and intuitively will very likely be different for all of us.
Mm-hmm.
But the contracts with myself feels really big in my work. And so if that resonates for any of you, I encourage you to contemplate that.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, so we do want to keep this video pretty short, so we're probably going to cut it off right here. But just to summarize, kind of as we're stepping into this new moon energy, the altar space from our end will be open from mid-evening, probably around 8 o'clock at night, all the way through till probably noon the next day, with the idea of being able to really hold our collective space open for people who wish to engage with the new moon energy whenever feels right for you. And we really do hope that you join us, whether it's just lighting a candle and feeling present, or it is, going all the way down, writing a ceremony, doing a sacred bath, entering into your millennia old temple and, performing, whatever you feel called to perform.
And either one of those is badass. So
yeah, we're just happy to have y'all join us, and happy new moon.
If you have any questions or thoughts or concerns, don't hesitate to reach out to us or reach out to the group. And happy new moon, everyone. Thank you.